22nd, regular transportation circulation, February meeting. Call the meeting to order and start with a roll call.
Committee Member Bickford. Committee Member Metzenberg.
Here.
Committee Member Rodriguez.
Here.
Committee Member Siegslag.
Here.
Committee Member Smith.
Here.
Vice Chair Blackerby.
Here.
Chair Malavos.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. And so I understand there are no changes to tonight's agenda.
That is correct, Chairman Labos.
Okay. So next up, we have opportunity for public comment if there's anyone in person or online.
Chair Malavos, there are no requests to speak.
All right, I'm gonna get right to it. And next up, any announcements?
Yes, Chair Malabos, I do have a few announcements. First off, Happy New Year to the TCC team. Glad we're back. Excited to see you all. The first announcement is we have new Planning Commission liaison to the Transportation Circulation Committee. It's Mr. Brian Barnwell. He's sitting in the audience today, and he is now serving back on the city's planning commission. So in the Jessica Grant early years, I've had many presentations before Commissioner Barnwell and then Council Member Barnwell. So excited that he's back in the planning commission seat. And just for the TCC members that are new, we do have a planning commission liaison. Their role is to just know what's going on that's before us from the various agenda items that we have, and then the planning commissioner will relay at the planning commission hearings of what happened at the Transportation Circulation Committee. As you know, a lot of land use and transportation go hand in hand, so it's always good to know what each of the boards are doing. And then we also have a city council liaison, that's council member Michael Jordan. He has been our liaison last year as well. And sometimes the liaisons are not always present, but typically monitor remotely as well. So that's the information on that. And then there's a few upcoming community outreaches that I did want to note for the record. Last night we had a community webinar for the Milpas at Highway 101 operational improvements project that's headed to construction this fall. And there will be an in-person meeting at the Franklin Elementary School at 5:30. It's an open house format. We'll have the project plans for review for the community, and we invite the community at large, businesses that are nearby the improvements, etc. And you all, of course, are always welcome to attend as well. I'm sorry, thank you, Ms. Blackerby. It's February 28th, and that's a Wednesday. Also, coming up is the Castillo Undercrossing Safety Enhancements project. That was a planning effort that commenced right around 2021, 2022. Our last outreach was in 2022 for improvements to the approaches to the Castillo undercrossing. We are going to be trying to seek grant funding for that from the Active Transportation Program, either for design and construction or just design. But because it's been a year, we want to do another touch point with the community. What we've heard during the last community engagement process is the underpass tends to be very wet because there's a high groundwater table there, and there's been seepage, and it was to try to elevate the bike lane to the sidewalk level. So we've been in discussions with Caltrans. It does seem like it's feasible, and so when we return to the community in March, and the tentative dates for that is I believe it's a Wednesday, March 13th. That would be a community webinar, and then a Saturday, March 16th. And I'll get back to you on the specific times for that. Probably another 5:30 time, and I think maybe 9 to 11 on Saturday morning. But it's just to show the improvements in the undercrossing and, of course, the approaches to that as we connect both to Montecito Cliff Drive on the waterfront side, which is an important connection for City College and, of course, to the waterfront. And then on the other side into downtown to connect from Castillo to Haley into the west downtown and downtown. And the last item I wanted to mention the announcements is that for the next TCC meeting in April, we're hoping to have an update for the Cycle 6 projects. I'll have a mini update tonight as well, but to go into more detail in April. And also, I'm hoping to have the Mike Becker from SBCAG to attend one of our meetings. There was a recent big data report discussing travel trends for Santa Barbara County. The report was recently adopted by the SBCAG board, but it's really interesting read about how people travel within and in and out of our county. So, and it's our first time using a big data source, and so it's a great way to tell trends and kind of from the 30-foot level. All right, that is it for the announcements.
Okay, we can go into regular agenda. First item is the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting in October 26th of 2023. So both I and Vice Chair were both absent, so I'm going to abstain from.
I actually did watch the meeting,
Okay.
just couldn't stay away. I mean, not live, I watched the recording, so I think you
And
can.
for the
you can
record, if
vote.
you did watch the recording, you are allowed to vote on the minutes.
So I'd be happy to move approval of the minutes.
I'll second.
Can I actually make one comment on the minutes? I think on the summary for the, I know we went back and forth on the language a lot. We did have, as it reads, is the cost of building the bridge is a concern, and I'm wondering if we could rephrase that to be, the cost of building the bridge is a concern for some committee members, because I know we were divided on that. Is that?
I would support that, because I think a majority of the board was not concerned with that.
Yeah, I was the only one concerned. So, yeah.
So as the maker of the motion, I would accept that amendment there.
Okay. Great. We will go ahead and update the minutes and post the final minutes on our webpage. And then we have to have the roll call
Yeah,
for
okay.
the minutes. We had a second, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Naomi, if you could facilitate the roll call for the minute approval?
Committee Member Bickford? Committee Member Metzenberg?
Yes.
Committee Member Rodriguez?
Yes,
Committee Member Siegfried?
Yes.
Committee Member Smith?
Yes.
Vice Chair Blackerby?
Yes.
And then Chair Malavos is abstaining. Thank you.
Okay, the second agenda item is election of chair and vice chair for the 2024 calendar year. I've chosen not to seek continuation of the chair for 2024, but would like to nominate Vice Chair Blackerby to continue or to assume chair, and a motion for vice chair.
I would accept your nomination. So,
Do we need a second?
do we need a second for a nomination?
I'll second.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Naomi, can we facilitate the roll call for the chair?
Committee Member Bickford? Committee Member Metzenberg,
Yes.
Committee Member Rodriguez,
Yes?
Committee Member Siegschlag,
Yes.
Committee Member Smith,
Yes.
Chair Malavos,
Yes.
and then Vice Chair Blackerby will be the new chair for this year.
And then for the vice chair, just a little background for the newer TCC members. It is common when you serve as vice chair that you're being positioned to take on the chair responsibility, just as a background. And then for the responsibilities for chair and vice chair, there's typically a check-in with myself, just to go pre-review the agenda items for the upcoming hearing. So the time commitment is probably a half an hour more than just your typical reviews of the staff reports ahead of the hearing.
If I could just add, in case it's a hard sell for anyone to want to be vice chair, you don't have to become chair the
You don't
next
have
time. No pressure. You have a whole year to think about it. In case you're the weight of future action keeps you away. Yeah,
I'd like to make a nomination, if that's in order. Is that in order? I'd like to nominate Sarah Siegschlag for vice chair.
Sure, I will accept. Thank you.
I'll second that.
Second.
I'll facilitate the roll call vote. Vice Chair Bickford, or no, sorry, Committee Member Bickford.
Yes.
Committee Member Metzenberg,
Yes.
Committee Member Rodriguez,
Yes, and having served both as vice chair and chair, they're both very pleasant jobs.
Committee Member Smith,
Yes.
Vice Chair Blackerby,
Yes.
Chair Malavos.
Yes.
Committee Member Siegschlag will be Vice Chair for 2024. Thank you.
Congrats.
Great. And then you, both the new chair and vice chair will begin your chair responsibilities at the April hearing.
You're not done with it.
Yeah.
Finish up the meeting.
Okay, to our next agenda item, an update on the active transportation program Cycle 6 projects.
Yes, tonight's just a very brief update. So the Active Transportation Cycle 6 projects, that's of course the Vision Zero Cliff Drive project, which is the mix of between a multi-use path, a separated bike path, and crossing improvements along Cliff Drive. We have kicked off the design phase, and we did additional community engagement, I believe it was back in November of 2023, just to remind the community of what we received the grant funding for. And as we proceed in the design phase, are there any changes or considerations that we need to be thinking about? This project is going to be designed with the help of a consultant. And they've, so far to date, have completed the survey and begun some of the initial layouts. What we anticipate for the April hearing is that from our last community engagement, we probably will have some minor scope changes that we would like to bring before you to review. And then, of course, we want to share what we've heard again from what we continue to hear, because this has been at least 8 years of community engagement on this project. But just share the highlights of what we heard in November. And for the West Side and Lower West implementation project, we call this one Everything in the Kitchen Sink project, because it's a mix of pedestrian and bicycle improvements throughout the West Side and Lower West neighborhoods. We did community engagement in January. We've been doing lots of community engagement. I'm trying to remember all the dates. Back in January, again, just to remind the community of what the grant scope consisted of. And again, we'll bring highlights. And then also anticipating a potential scope change on the layout, potentially along MODOC for the separated bike path. The big debate is, Do you have a 2-lane cycle track or a 1-way cycle track? So we're doing some initial analysis if it can be included in the scope to address community concerns. That will be the topic in April. Then the last one is the Milpas crossing enhancements between the roundabout to Cannon Perdido Street. We went before the community also in December. And again, to remind everybody what the project scope is, this is also being designed with the help of a consultant team. The biggest part of design kickoff is more the technical studies on this, looking at compliance with the Accessibilities with Disabilities Act, also known as ADA, and the large mature trees that are along Milpa Street for initial analysis before we really put pen to paper on the final design part, and that we'll be revisiting once we have some findings from those technical expert reviews. We'll be engaging the community on that part. So that is again the brief update for the Cycle 6 projects. Any questions?
No, thank you. There's a lot going on.
Yes.
Okay. Up next, we have this report on a very detailed report on the Safe Routes to School program.
Yes, I will kick us off on this report. Sam Furtner, who's our city mobility coordinator, unfortunately had a family emergency and is unable to present tonight. So I will do my best to channel Mr. Furtner to give you a little bit of background. The last time we did a Safe Routes to School update was back in 2022. I can't believe that it's already been that long ago. And it's really important for the TCC members just to be aware of what the education is in our school system. And so accompanying me on this presentation, I'll do the intro kickoff, and then we will also have Santa Barbara County representatives, which is Kim Stanley Zimmerman, Vanessa Rencher, and Eliza Howard. They're boots on the ground doing the education in the schools, and can't wait for you to hear all about it. So let's kick it off. So again, is just to receive an update on the Safe Routes to School program that we have. Just a little background. Again, most of the time when we're before the Transportation Circulation Committee, we have a big focus on our capital infrastructure projects, which a lot of them are Safe Routes to School projects that we've been very with deep gratitude to receive funding for over the past few years. But another big component for Safe Routes to School is the education part. This is represented in a lot of our local policies, from the circulation element, as well as the pedestrian master plan. Within the pedestrian master plan, we have a whole Safe Routes to School chapter, and we also have maps of suggested routes for families to take on their routes to the various schools within the city of Santa Barbara. We also have it reflected for education related in our bicycle master plan, and of course our Vision Zero strategy. As you know, for our Vision Zero strategy, that the most vulnerable users of our roadway are pedestrians and cyclists, and we spend a lot of time, again, on the capital side, trying to find engineering solutions to address stress points for families getting to and from school. But there's also the other components for education and evaluation that our Move Santa Barbara County team assists us with. just a very brief history. It's detailed more in the staff report, but yeah, our Safe Routes to School program started back in 1999. Originally was from the PTA Safety Committee, and Santa Barbara Bicycle Coalition developed the program, and it was originally administered by city and county staff. But we quickly realized it was a bandwidth issue, and the outreach felt more, governmental, and we wanted more of a grassroots and community aspect for the education. So in 2002, that was the program was transferred to the Coalition of Sustainable Transportation, which is also known as COAST. And then from there, we started to go more detailed into funding right around the mid-2000s, and where each of the cities within the county and the county itself were contributing money for each of our schools. And that also had a match from the local Measure A program for Safe Routes to Schools. So that was funded partly, again, by the cities within the county, and then also through the grant program as well. And then there's been additional funding that has been contributed for example, Audacious has been one of the funders as well for some of the Safe Routes to School education and some of the private school settings as well. And as you know, just fairly recently now, that the Santa Barbara Bicycle Coalition and the Coalition of Sustainable Transportation merged, and they are now called Move Santa Barbara County. And Move Santa Barbara County is the official lead on all Safe Routes to School education county-wide. And like I said, it's funded by the local Measure A South Coast Grants program, as well as contributions from the cities. Here is just a list of the cities within South Santa Barbara County. And so we're roughly right about around the same amount if you were to break down the per school basis. Of course, as we find, again, for continued bandwidth, we're going to always be looking for additional funding, and in addition to Measure A and the city with other potential grants to continue to leverage education in the schools. We typically, each year, we have a contract with Move, and because it is hard to have outreach in every single school every single year, we're very strategic on certain programming efforts or tied to capital projects that might be coming online. For example, with the new West Side and East Side Paseos, we want to make sure that there's education for the kids that go to the nearby adjacent schools, and that they can experience the new improvements. So every year, again, we evaluate the contract to look at different synergies between what's coming online for capital programs, and then sort of what are the hot topics, and a lot of it's also been in e-bike education as well. So I will be bringing up Kim Stanley Zimmerman. She'll kick us off to let us know more about the program. And before she does, there's just one last plug. We were, in December, recent recipients of a Safe Streets for All federal grant in the approximate amount of $800,000, and that's to develop a Safe Streets for All action plan. We see this action plan as sort of a 2.0 version of the bicycle master plan and pedestrian master plan, because within those plans, after the next few years, most of those capital projects will have been implemented, which is so exciting. But our work is never done. There's always improvements that we can be doing. And so the focus on the Safe Streets for All is a focus on the city's Vision Zero priority corridors, and also the safe streets, also safe routes to school corridors as well. So we will be updating all of our safe routes to school mapping. We will be reinitiating all bike and walking safety audits for each of the schools within the city. And then, of course, through that effort, identifying additional safety enhancements along school routes. So we plan to kick off that effort. There's a big paperwork process associated with that grant that takes about 2 to 3 months before we can actually start to receive monies. And so we see this as a big work effort for the fiscal year 2025, where we will get this underway. And then also looking at leveraging maybe some other additional grant sources to help us with some of the biking and walking safety audits as well. But enough about that. Let's bring up Kim to give you an update on the programming. All right.
Thank you for inviting us to share our Safe Routes to School program update with you today. Okay. My name is Kim Stanley. I'm the Director of Move's Education Programs. I'll be sharing some general slides with you, and then we'll get more specific on our educational programs. We want to be sure you know what role Move plays in the community. We are a countywide education and advocacy organization. Our purpose is to empower, educate, and advocate for people who walk, bicycle, and take public transit, countywide. Whoops. So, what does that look like? What work do we do? Advocacy. You might know a couple people in that photo. Our advocacy work focuses on 2 visions: all streets safe for all road users, and all communities connected by frequent transit. We aim to educate community members about how to advocate for safer streets, to understand safe street design, and to advocate and speak at public meetings. Our bike shops. We have 3 community bike shops. One's located in downtown Santa Barbara. Another one is seasonal at SBCC. And another location is in Santa Maria. We have mechanics who will help community members learn how to fix their bikes. Community members may also drop off their bike for inexpensive repair service. And we sell low-cost bikes that have been refurbished. These stats are from 2023. Selling low-cost bikes and repairing bicycles mean that these customers are using bikes as transportation and reducing vehicle miles traveled throughout our community. Bike valet. That's a photograph of our bike valet corral at the Santa Barbara Bowl, where we are at every concert parking bikes, as well as other events throughout the county. We provide secure bike parking at events. Bike valet reduces driving and the need for vehicular parking. And in 2023, we parked 3,700 bikes. last but not least, our education program. This is where our funding comes from for our education program. And the goal of the Safe Routes to School program is to increase the number of students walking and biking to school. And we do this through the 6 E's. We engage with families, PTAs, and school staff to remove the barriers that prevent students and families from being able to walk or to choose to bike and walk to school. We provide an equitable program, such as bringing loaner bikes and loaner helmets to the schools so that all students can participate in our bike skills programs. We work with public works departments to bring attention to unsafe roadway design that prevent families from walking and biking to school. And we support encouragement programs such as walk and bike to school days and walk and bike buses, which you'll hear a little bit more about in detail in a couple minutes. We also educate students about how to stay safe when they are walking and biking. And we evaluate our program by asking schools to facilitate annual counts. As a result of our work, this is what we like to see. This was at Washington School. The principal and her child biked to school. So those are the things we're aiming for. I will now turn it over to Vanessa Rencher and Eliza Howard. They are our education and encouragement coordinators to share the specific work they've been doing at city schools this year. Vanessa? This moves it forward.
Okay.
The down arrow.
Great. Hello, I'm Vanessa Rencher, and I help provide support for safer biking and walking to schools. I'm going to talk about some general things we do at schools and then focus on a few individual schools. We can go to the next slide. Oh, right, thank you. I'll just put my finger here. To begin with, we train physical education teachers on how to teach bike lessons in their PE classes. By training PE teachers and volunteers, we make this program more sustainable and are able to support more schools. We do not want cost to be a barrier to having proper safety gear, so we provide low-cost helmets, bike lights, and locks to students and families at each school, and we include proper helmet fittings. For schools that have their own fleets, we provide support with bike maintenance days, which occur prior to bike lessons. Bike maintenance days consist of parent volunteers and volunteer bike mechanics helping to maintain their school's bike fleets. When sixth graders successfully finish their bike lessons, we take them on street bike rides. We ride to a junior high school that these students will be attending next year, and we put into use all the safe bike riding habits that we have been practicing. We have also been asking all our schools to implement recurring walk and roll to school days. Walk and roll to school days have also been fun community building school events. And that's Oscar Gutierrez giving a thumbs up. He joined Walk to School Day at McKinley. We have also been asking all our schools to implement recurring, we're going to school buses. That's where we are, yes. We have been helping schools identify safer routes to school called bike buses and walking buses. These routes are initially led by us and then led by parents or teachers. Recurring biking and walking buses to school help promote new healthy habits. And that's also a map that we come up with to help parents get motivated and join these walking buses and bike buses.
Excuse me.
Yeah?
Does that mean you call it a bus, but it's a group of people all biking
Yes.
together?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. So I wanted to call it a train too, but nationally it's called bus. So yeah, I've had to explain that a few times. Let's see. Those are the bike buses. And then, after students finish their bike lessons, we help schools identify students who need bikes. We match as many students as possible with a refurbished bike from one of our bike shops. We also offer as many $20 refurbished bikes to second and third graders in need. Next, I'm going to highlight additional events occurring at individual schools. At Adams Elementary, we have expanded bike lessons to all grades this year, which include TK through 6th grades. TK is transitional kindergarten. And I'm continuing to support and train the physical education teacher on how to teach these bike lessons, set up courses, and all the details. Since we have expanded the program, we now provide a fleet of balance bikes so that the smaller, younger students are included. And balance bikes, you can see in the picture, are bikes with no pedals. So they learn how to balance, and then they just jump from those bikes to regular bikes. So if they come to our school with training wheels, we take them off. And then they just want to throw them in the trash. Let's see. This year at Adams, 490 students have had bike lessons, and 101 students learned how to ride a bike. Along with parent volunteers, we have trained 6th graders on how to teach younger students how to ride a bike. They're called Big Buddies. Also, Adams students are writing essays on why they need a bike, and MOVE is matching 8 refurbished bikes to students in need. Next, let's talk about Monroe School. We have also expanded bike lessons to all grades, and I am continuing to support and train the physical education teacher, and we use the balance bikes at Monroe also. This year, 325 students have had bike lessons at Monroe, which is all students, and 17 students learned how to ride a bike. The reason it's only 17 is because we've had this at Monroe School several years, and there are fewer and fewer learners. There's also a popular special needs program at Monroe. We have included these students by adding 6 different bike options for various student mobilities. Also, special needs 6th graders are included on the 6th grade bike ride by riding on trishaws, which you see in this picture, and trishaw pilots. So they're the ones who, they're like electric bikes where the students can sit in front and they have a seatbelt. And there they have a cute little blanket. Also at Monroe, students are riding bikes at recess. In March, the Monroe teacher is going to take a group of students on a bike ride field trip to play disc golf. And I'm in the process of matching students who do not have a bike and want to bike to school. We're going to get them a refurbished bike. At McKinley Elementary School, has also expanded their bike program to include all grades, and we are moving the balance bikes to this school next. So the schools there we've expanded to all grades. They have their own, also their own bike fleets that Audacious had bought for them a few years back. So it's easier to do at these schools. And prior to bike lessons, I've scheduled a bike maintenance day and a helmet distribution. We had a very successful initial walk to school day at McKinley, and I am working on recurring walk and roll to school days with the principal. And we will match as many refurbished bikes to students in need as possible. At Roosevelt Elementary, I will be continuing to train and support the physical education teacher in how to teach bike lessons for 2nd and 3rd grades. So if schools don't have their own fleets, we have trailers with different size bikes. We have two trailers, and we can bring them to schools, but they can only be at one school at one time. And we usually start with 2nd and 3rd, and then we have another trailer for older grades. I will also provide a helmet, light, and lock distribution and match bikes to students in need. As you can see, we work closely with the physical education teachers by training them, school staff, and volunteer parents to increase the amount of students and families who walk and bike to school safely. Next, I would like to introduce my coworker, Eliza Howard, who is also an education and encouragement coordinator. And it's this little arrow down.
Hi everyone, my name's Eliza Howard. As Vanessa mentioned, I am another one of the education and encouragement coordinators with MOVE, and I'm going to share some of the highlights at some of the schools that I am involved with. So first, I'll start with Harding Elementary School. We conducted bike skills classes where we taught 2nd through 6th grade. Overall, we taught 350 students bike skills, and of those 350, 57 learned how to ride for the first time. We also held a bike distribution where we matched 6 6th graders with low-cost refurbished bikes from BC Centro. A big barrier to more kids biking to school is not being able to afford a bike. So we're happy to be able to lessen the financial burden for these students through selling them discounted bikes. And I just wrapped up a bike repair day at Harding earlier today, where we invited students and parents to bring in their bikes that were broken, and me, with the help of the PE teacher and some of the mechanics at BC Centro, were able to fix their bikes. And we also fixed up the PE teacher's existing bike fleet so that now he can teach biking in PE without having to use our own fleets. We also do a daily bike bus at Harding. This is the only everyday bike bus that MOVE has organized. We do a lot of them for walk and roll to school days or Earth Days or once every few weeks, but this one is daily, which is pretty special. I'm pretty excited about this project, so I made a slide just for it. Again, it happens every morning. It attracts between 5 to 20 students, and it runs along Gillespie Street, which, as you probably know, was newly renovated into being more bike and pedestrian friendly. I was talking to one of the parents at Harding, and he described Gillespie Street as a drag strip before the new infrastructure was put in place. And he said the only reason that he feels comfortable leading the bike bus or having his kids bike down that street at all is because of the new changes to the street. So the new infrastructure has been a game changer, but you all probably already know that. This bike bus has been super fun to watch and be a part of. I've talked to parents who do it. I've talked to the kids who do it. It's a great way for parents to meet other parents, kids to meet other kids, and just for families to spend quality time together. I am also teaching at Santa Barbara Community Academy, where we just finished bike skills classes. We taught 161 students how to riding skills, and of those 161 students, 36 learned how to ride for the first time. We also did a discounted lights, locks, and helmet sale. And at Monte Vista Elementary, we did a 4th grade bike rodeo, which is a one-day activity where students can learn the skills they need to ride on the road. And we did a discounted helmet, light, and lock distribution. So to wrap it up, so far this year, we've taught 1,600 students bike lessons. We've taught 140 how to ride a bike. 100 6th grade students rode to their junior highs, and we sold 360 helmets, 150 lights, and 90 locks at a discounted price. To reiterate, our goal is to increase the number of students walking and biking to school, and to track our progress, we do annual mobility counts. This is our 2nd year focusing on behavior change, and we're really looking forward to seeing how the counts look next year to see if our new approach will be effective. Thank you for having us present to you, and if you have any questions, we are happy to answer.
Excellent, thank you.
Do you guys want the keyboard back?
I have a question. I mean, I think this is all great. But I was just wondering, you're talking about providing bikes, like in the schools have bike fleets. And are these all getting funded through MOVE somehow, or?
Several schools were funded through the Audacious program, which was a private foundation. 4 schools, Franklin, McKinley, Monroe, and Adams. So those schools all have their own fleets. The other schools, so Vanessa was talking, we have a trailer for 2nd and 3rd graders that's full of a fleet for those students. And then we have another trailer that fits 4th through 6th grade students. So whichever schools don't have their own fleets, we bring bicycles to those schools.
Are those generally used bikes, or do you get them new, or?
Our fleet bikes were new. Yeah, we got grants for those bikes.
Okay.
Although in Santa Maria, we have fleets of refurbished bikes that we take in the Santa Maria schools.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That was wonderful. Thank you for teaching us about this. This is like a really, really cool program. How do I get you guys at Peabody, where my kids go to school?
Oh, we need a parent advocate at Peabody.
Oh, man, I just signed myself up for something, didn't I? Okay. Okay.
Yes, we will be in touch.
Okay, cool. Sure.
Yeah, Peabody is tricky because it's as you know, it's a very small campus for 650 kids. It's a little, and the PE teacher has to teach PE to the whole grade level. So our classes, we only have 25 to 30 bikes. So it's impossible. It's nearly impossible to teach during PE at Peabody, because it's 100 kids doing PE at the same time. So we would have to be at Peabody for like 4 months in order to get all those kids' bike skills classes. So would love to talk to you more about that. There's more that we can do, though. It doesn't just have to be, bike skills classes during PE. There's other ways we could approach it. I mean, we want to get more people walking and biking to school. Education is great. It's not always essential.
Yeah, no, let's talk after this. I'd be interested to see what we can do. My other question, when I was reading through everything that was sent to us before we sat down here, I was kind of looking at this program, and I was like, this is great. I really like this part about teaching the kids bike maintenance, too. That's early STEM education. I just think it's wonderful. And I was kind of thinking back to how I used to get to school, which was I walked, or I rode my bike, or I took the bus, and if it was raining, my parents would drive me, but it was never my choice how I got to school. It was my parents being lazy, I'm sure they said it was like to foster self-reliance or anything, but I just don't think they wanted to get up and drive me to school, and we're close enough to walk. So I kind of look at this as like the parents are kind of deciding how their kids get to school. So do you guys do anything trying to reach out to parents to encourage them to get their kids to bike or walk to school? Is that barrier being looked at all?
For sure, yeah. We do walk and bike to school days. And National Walk to School Day happens every October, National Bike to School Day every May, and those are huge events at every school. So we've been, over the last, maybe 10 years, saying, let's do this more regularly. Why is this twice a year? Let's make it monthly. Let's make it weekly. So when Vanessa and Eliza were referring to walk and roll to school days, that's how we're trying to get more people walking and biking. And the schools, when we have parent coordinators at the schools, those people are getting the word out too. It's not just an outside organization coming in saying you need to do this. We're really trying to build those relationships with the schools and parents so that it's coming from the school community and not us, because we've found that doesn't work as well. Yeah. Vanessa and Eliza, can you think of other ways that we've been engaging parents? Do either of you want to contribute to the answer? Or
It's a pretty good answer.
if you,
At least in my experience, I usually reach out to teachers first or the school and ask if there's anyone on the PTA that is interested in active transportation. And at most of my schools, there'll be 1 or 2 parents that kind of come out of the woodwork that they usually already bike with their kids to school, and they kind of become the point person for me. The hard thing with parents is that eventually their kids graduate and move on to another school. Luckily, for example, at Harding, the parents leading the bike bus have 1st and 2nd graders, so that's super helpful. I will have them for a very long time. but yeah, it just takes reaching out to admin, and then admin reaching out to the parents, and then you find a few parents who are really dedicated, and then the goal is, those parents talk to their parent friends and just get more people on board. That's how I've gotten parents more invested, or just talking to them during biking and PE. You spend so much time at this school during that. We get parent volunteers through that, and then hopefully they're going home and telling their kids to bike more and bike to school. Just seeing parents at pickup and drop-off times, and just making sure they know who we are and what their kids are doing in PE, because you'd be surprised how many kids come home and don't tell their parents that they're doing biking in PE or anything. But yeah, just, kind of being a little forceful and chatty with parents at the school, letting them know who we are, because it's a good message. It's, supports the environment, gets your kids outside, so it's not really hard to get parents behind our message once they know who we are.
Can I borrow that again?
Sure.
Have you guys ever heard any pushback from any parents on like, hey, I don't want my kid walking or biking to school because I view it as dangerous, or whatever reasons they throw out?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, go.
Yeah. Vanessa's bringing up a slide. I did want to address that part and the synergy with MOVE in the city of Santa Barbara on that effort. So there will be families that no how, no way is my child riding or biking to school. And we find that out more through walking and biking audits. And a lot of times it could be a hang-up, and a lot of it has to do with infrastructure, that parents do not feel safe letting their child on X street or route to school. And so we get the stress points documented in those walking and biking assessments. And through that, it becomes the ground for future capital projects to lessen those stress points. So Eliza Howard had a perfect example where Gillespie, where the one parent said that, no, I'm not going to have my kids bike down the school because the speeds along that street are unsafe. And so there was born out of this to have strong connections within the west side, specifically on safe routes, to lower traffic volumes on that street and slower speeds. And so now we're capturing more families feeling more comfortable to now have their kids walk and bike along that route. And then Vanessa Rincher, if you have any more to follow up
Yeah, I
on.
was looking for a specific picture. I thought I put it up here. It was from today. We had a walk and roll to school day at Monroe, but it's not there. But it's also just changing habits. I mean, I think most parents are just used to driving their kids. I mean, we look at the statistics, and, it was mostly kids were walking and biking, and then it's flipped. And when we do walk and roll to school days, boom, it goes back. Sometimes, like at Adams, they said, holy cow, our parking lot is empty on a successful walk and roll to school day. And what's nice is the entire school, when they get, they all get into it, like the kitchen is like providing smoothies, and there they reuse their balloon arch. So there's all these things we can do. It doesn't know. And we also provide incentives, and so does the PTA. So for the big walk and roll to school days. So that really helps. And of course, all the kids, they want just like a sticker or something. I participated. And it's just changing those habits, showing the parents how easy it is. We sent out a survey when we ask about, we try to match kids with bikes. We ask the parents questions. Do you have a bike? We ask the child, will you wear a helmet when you bike? When we get you this bike, why do you want a bike? Will you bike to school? And then we match them.
So we've got a lot of avenues for parents to change behaviors, but it is not easy. I've been doing this for a long time, and I wish that I had worked myself out of a job, but I haven't yet. Yeah.
I forgot my whole point. I totally got on a tangent. Because you were like, how do you get parents to go, you show them really good pictures. I've gotten really good at taking pictures, just angles and editing. And when parents and the other kids see these pictures or like a video of Walk and Roll to School Day, they are super motivated to, join their friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Vanessa always says too, just get the kids excited because then the kids are talking to their parents about it. So that's another avenue. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to bring up the elephant in the room, the electric bicycle. When I read all of these materials, what did I say? When I read all of these materials, and I've been on this committee, I think 9 years now, something like that, and your reports are always very inspirational and good. Only because of the changes on State Street and the changes in the manufacture of electric bicycles and seeing so many young children really on them, I looked through these materials and it's almost like you're pretending they don't exist. I mean, is it because these children are all under age 12? We don't have laws at this point yet about electric bicycles. I think they're coming in California, but gosh, I think because every other meeting and event I go to, I hear about the people feeling like the electric bikes are everywhere.
Yeah. We're really excited that people are riding e-bikes, especially kids too, because it's a way for them to get to where they need to go. We teach safe biking in our classes, so the rules for biking on the street aren't any different for e-bike riders. So those kids that we're teaching, they know the laws. They know they're supposed to be riding on the right side of the road and signaling their turn. So that's the first thing I would say about e-bike education. And we did just do an event in Goleta where we encouraged students from GV and DP to come take a skills class with us and then actually ride out on the street with us to know what that looks like. So we're doing some things, but again, those laws are transferable to e-bike riders.
Well, my understanding is that at the state level, there's some activity about creating some sort of training or certification for people to drive. They're really motorcycles, 25 miles an hour. That's not a standard bicycle training. It's got to be amplified for the e-bike. And I really respect what you're doing, and I think just as a member of this committee, it's important for me to bring up the point that this is the future. We've got to have decent regulations for people that are driving these quasi-motorcycles. And, you've been doing this a long time, and it's almost like you're kind of going to have to be forced to add another component of your teaching, but I'm sure you'll do it. Now, I also.
Committee member
go ahead.
Rodriguez, if I could expand on that as well. Yes, the state level, and that's something that the city and cities within our region and county, as well as MOVE, continue to monitor. The California Highway Patrol is working on statewide guidelines related to e-bike safety and education. And as Ms. Zimmerman mentioned, that, as far as rules of the road, those are still the same. So that part of the education is still instilled, whether you're on a conventional bike or an e-bike. But there is specific trainings that MOVE has done, and there are certain nuances because the e-bikes are heavier bikes than your standard conventional bike. So a lot of it's just focusing on still having to do a proper hand signal with a heavier bike and getting used to that. And then just like with anything, I think what MOVE has noticed too, that before they have bike skills, they do a lot of maintenance on the bikes. And it's, having been to these trainings, it's amazing of how many kids ride in on flat tires, and really the brakes need to be maintained. And the same thing with e-bikes, there's more wear and tear. And we've noticed on the rad bikes that the brakes don't last as long as some of the conventional bikes because you're at a higher speed for that. So it's about using BC Centro and the bike mechanics just to make sure that you can properly maintain the e-bike as well.
Well, I have a grandson who's 15 now, but when he was 13, he got an e-bike, and he looked at me very innocently, and he said, should I ride this like a bike or like a motorcycle? And I still think that's a fair question that's going to eventually be resolved.
Yeah. Can Vanessa add?
Yes, sure.
So when we do bike education, we usually start in the PE room, and then we start and talk about bikes. We talk about bike safeties, a self-check and a bike check. And a lot of times we get those electric bike questions, so we just incorporate that into our education.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I have sympathy for you because it's evolving.
Right.
And it's going to change.
Which is great.
It is. I have another question, and then I'll stop. This letter that was in our report from Heather Deutsch, you didn't specifically mention it. It's attached to your staff report, right?
That's correct. Yes.
I just wanted to point out, we don't have a slide of this, but I think it's marvelous. It starts with 2009 and 10 and it shows some of the schools and it has colored graphs. Although it shows how dreadfully low the bicycle utilization has been in the past, this kind of documentation and data is going to be really helpful going forward to ensure that we see when you make progress and you can get credit for it. So I just wanted to comment that I think this is a very useful document and would be nice to see this on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, we're excited about the same thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's very nice. A lot of work, a lot of data collection to
Yeah.
do that. So thank you very much.
Go ahead.
So, first of all, this is awesome. I've been adjacent to the program for a long time, and it's so cool to see it evolve and mature. And, the picture of the students on the Gillespie Bike Boulevard is I think maybe a tear came to my eye because it's that's why we do it.
Yeah.
Is okay, so now kids can ride to school in the neighborhood. Great, worth all the millions, right? That whole 8 to 80 concept, and so some of them might be under 8, right? But that's just huge, and so obviously the continued education is so vital, and getting these fleets and all that stuff really leveled up, right? Because it used to be you'd go and maybe that would be the only time they would kind of see a bike or maybe learn something about a bike, have a bike rodeo, and then it's see ya next year, right?
Yes.
So it's really awesome that the capacity has expanded at the schools with the PE teachers and everything. It's really, yeah, it's great to see. Part of my job includes going to junior highs to talk about the bus. Junior high kids actually we go to 6th grades to talk about the bus because they're about to go to junior high. Bus, not bike bus or walk bus, but the classic kind of bus. And I know you mentioned with the e-bikes, there have been some sort of kind of one-off events at the junior highs. And it does seem, totally anecdotally, that the e-bike set that you may see around town with 3 on a bike with helmets unclipped are in junior high, a lot of them, or young high schoolers. And so I'm curious, I guess, one, from a sort of safe routes to school funding perspective, generally it's been elementary schools, but I'm curious if there's the possibility of having, kind of a reminder, because frankly, junior high is when a lot of times kids, by whatever means they get to school, they're doing it on their own for the first time, right? Unfortunately, right? That's sort of parents are okay, you're of the age of maybe you can get someplace on your own. And so I'm just wondering if down the road, if there's kind of the ability to move towards that different type of training, right? You're dealing with a different set of kids. Ideally, they all went to elementary schools where you had programs and then they're perfect for the rest of their life as bike riders, but also we know brain chemistry changes at a certain age and people have different thoughts about how their invincibility. So I'm just curious if there's thoughts about that or from the city perspective.
Thank you, Committee Member Blackerby, through the chair. First, I'll have Ms. Zimmerman talk about the bike education at the junior high level, and then I'll follow up with some upcoming grant funding that we have specifically for La Cumbre Junior High. And also, Mr. Mayor, if you could touch on the pedal power camp as well, that's targeted for the 6th grade and junior high audience.
Yeah. We did have a junior high program. Ricky Rodriguez was an education and encouragement coordinator. He has since left the organization, so it does feel like a little bit of a vacuum right now in terms of the junior high and high school program. We are hearing from high schools that we need you to come and give our kids education. So we'd like a system with the school district. We don't want to just give this one-off presentation or whatever to high school students. We'd rather have it be a program and have the school district involved. So we're working on that. And then, for example, in Carpinteria, we got an Office of Traffic Safety grant this year. So we got the funds to purchase 40 bicycles for Carpinteria Middle School for their PE teachers to teach bike education in the school. They're not e-bikes, so the kids aren't learning on e-bikes. But again, it's the same rules of the road. But at least they would have formal bike skills classes happening in junior high. So we would like to see more of that happen as well. And we'll see how Carpinteria goes. It'll be a really good kind of pilot for that idea. Yeah.
Great.
And then to add on to Ms. Zimmerman, with one of our upcoming capital projects, the ATP Cycle 6 West Side and Lower West Implementation Project, that does include a non-infrastructure component, and that is extra funds to make videos and provide extra education once the new infrastructure comes online at both the elementary level, so to Harding, McKinley, Santa Barbara Community Academy, and then also La Cumbre Junior High. What we've noticed is, as Kim had mentioned, there's trailers for bikes for the elementary level, but in junior high, kids start to outgrow the elementary size bikes. It's interesting. There's still kids in the elementary size bikes, but there's also kids that are essentially adult size in junior high. And so the fleet is specific to fit taller kids, and that's something that we'll be coordinating through the process in the next couple of years. So that will come online, and then I believe we have a shed or trailer on site. So again, it stays. So hopefully we can start to integrate bike usage at recess time as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming in. I love this program, and I think you're all doing great work. I have a question on when you're matching, say, students who don't have a bike, and you're kind of finding one and matching them with it. I mean, I know there's a lot that goes into that with like the size of the bike, and I would assume you don't have an infinite capacity of used bikes to give out. So I was just wondering how you make that selection and matching process.
Yeah, the survey asks a lot of different questions, including questions like, would you bike to school? Would you wear a helmet? Does your parent have a bicycle? Do you have a safe place to lock a bicycle at your residence? Would the parent be interested in biking with other kids to school? So there's all these parameters that we can use. And so if you answer yes to all those questions, you're more likely to get one of the bikes. And we love bike donations at the shop so that we can refurbish those bikes and get more bikes out to kids. It's probably about probably about 10 bikes per school this year. But it's a fairly recent endeavor of ours, so I imagine we'll be able to grow that capacity once we get the system to be a well-oiled machine. Does that answer your question? Okay.
And just to add as a parent in terms of for the matching for bikes, and that's again, a wonderful program. And then there's also the, just as a parent myself, there's the informal of just knowing a lot of the school families and passing down bikes that way. There's also Play It Again Sports that provides low-cost bicycles in town. And then, of course, the Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, is another way to purchase bikes. As a parent, just like with shoes, your kids are constantly outgrowing the bikes, and a lot of times it doesn't make economic sense to provide or purchase brand new bikes, given that the kids may only be in them for a particular year, and so we have a great network for that.
I think this was great. It was wonderful, especially to see all the information going 10 years back was fantastic. Much of this was new to me. And I have one specific question about the bike buses, which I think are awesome. I mean, can you explain a little bit about like how these form, or these, what naturally occur, and then get a chaperone, or, I mean, what, just a little bit more about, on those.
Yeah. I've been talking a lot. Do one of you want to come up and talk about the bike buses that you've organized?
There's a map.
Okay.
I know it's on here.
Well, he's
Yeah.
just wondering how they get started.
Right.
And
We have, they're actually pretty old, but they're still pretty applicable, maps where there's clusters of kids in the neighborhood around the school. And we usually work on like a 2-mile radius. And where are the clusters of kids? And even we talk to parents. Who are the parents that are riding, with their kids already to school? So, and then we try to pick, like here, we made a map. We have one walking bus and one biking. No, what is this, Adams? Oh, we have, or is that Monroe? Yeah. Yeah, it's Adams. So there's several. So the school actually came up with these routes. And then we make these maps, and then all the school gets them. And I tell the kids, put it on your fridge, join one of these. And we actually start leading them initially, the ones we can't. Like this, there's like maybe 5 routes. So I led one. The PE teacher at Adams, he led another, and then parents and whoever wanted to.
It was answered in the presentation around the use of Gillespie. What I thought at first was that just, dedicated bike lanes, or is it incorporated into the street, or is it kind of selection of path of least resistance? But it seems kind of all of the above.
Yeah, we pick the safest routes that exist, and then go from there. But yeah, Gillespie's ideal.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit to Gillespie. We definitely had some growing pains when we first started it. I just sent an email to the school saying, oh, does anyone bike to school, and would you be interested in doing a bike bus? And I explained a little bit in my email what a bike bus was. And I had some parents reach out to me. I was like, okay, where do you live? And we'll have the bike bus, originate somewhere around where you live, or on your street at least. So one parent lived at the intersection of Mission and Gillespie, or around there, and another parent lived on San Pascal. So we originally had 2 routes. And we ended up keeping the Gillespie route. That's still alive and well. And the San Pascal route didn't work because none of the kids wanted to cross San Andres, or none of their parents wanted their kids to cross San Andres on a bike. So yeah, safety is a huge motivator. Just people don't feel safe crossing San Andres. People don't want their kids crossing San Andres on a bike. Gillespie Street, super safe. Streets like Gillespie Street. Alisos now is super safe. Et cetera. I know Alisos is also adjacent to several elementary schools, so that will be my next endeavor, is getting something going on Alisos Street. But really just having bike infrastructure that's so close to the schools, I think, is what made this happen. I really don't think it would have been possible without that. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay,
Thank you.
great.
Just a quick question. With Adams, you have all these routes.
Yeah, you have all these routes, but like, Adams is on the unpopulated side of a very big, busy, fast street.
Yeah.
So,
When you get a group of kids and families together, the cars, it's amazing. They just part. They just, what? I mean, you're so visible.
so you, those are all daily buses
No,
or
no,
Okay.
Adams is not. That's monthly. But we're working on it, you know.
Okay.
We're hacking away.
It's great, but
Yeah,
maybe we need more infrastructure there.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
And that's yeah, perfect segue for the upcoming grant for the Safe Streets for All for that, is to look at some changes and, yeah, there is definitely some infrastructure items on the radar, given recent input. And then as Liza Howard mentioned about the parent concerns of crossing on San Andres, there's a bunch of San Andres crossing enhancements coming soon this year as part of the ATP Cycle 6. We were able to fast track the improvements on San Andres with the addition of some additional grant funding sources. So that is coming this year.
I have a kind of point of clarification on, if it's a monthly, daily, weekly type of bike bus. Is that the presence of a chaperone? I imagine there's going to be kids that commute every day, whether the formality of having a bike bus. What's the bridge between those kids that are doing it on their own daily versus having a chaperone bike bus?
Great question. I really don't know the answer to that. I know that kids aren't always, in fact, mostly they're not traveling with a bike bus, except for at Harding School. That one bike bus is happening daily. But the other bike buses are weekly or monthly, but there's other kids riding their bikes on a regular basis too. And those tend to be the families that are just less concerned, or they have the time to ride their bike with their child to school. Yeah.
And then one point, I might have missed it in the back and forth, was the address or call out of the BC Centro for bike donations? Right,
Yes, 434 Olive Street.
perfect.
Right, Val's? 434 Olive? Yes. Olive and Haley on Olive. Yes.
What are their hours? When are they open?
They vary. I think we open Tuesday through Friday, 11 to 5, and then Saturday, 12 to 4. Barry, am I right? Yeah, pretty close. Yeah, so, please, if you have bikes sitting around, please donate them. We will put them to good use. We would also encourage you all to come out to a school. We'd love to see you if you want to see the program. We're busy, and we'd love to have more people see the program in action.
Thank you. Anything,
Okay.
did we get,
Mr. Can you touch base on for adults that may not have a bike and how they can work towards getting a bike with off hours at BC Centro?
Off hours?
Or volunteer hours within the shop?
Getting a bicycle, if you don't have a bike, how to
Yes.
get a bike. Well, we sell low-cost bikes for adults at the shops. So anytime that we're open, you're welcome to come by and get a refurbished, low-cost bicycle. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And I think Chair Malavos, were you prompting me, were you going to, if there's any members of the public wishing to speak?
that's exactly
Okay.
it.
Chair Malabos, we have one in-person speaker, Barry Remis, and there are no requests to speak online.
I wasn't actually planning to speak it. I'm so inspired. I want to give props to my coworkers, Kim, Vanessa, and Eliza, for such a wonderful and comprehensive presentation. Oh, gee. And what I wanted to also do is to, in addition to commending them, and that's making me kind of miss the days when I was more involved with the education program, because I was out on the blacktop and actually just was recently because I was helping a little bit. There really wasn't much more to say, but I just wanted to maybe touch on a couple more points about, because in addition to all the bike activity and the biking fun that happens at these schools, a lot of the the encouragement portions is also about encouraging more students to walk as well as bike to and from their school. And I may be corrected, but I think we still do a little bit of it, for many of the younger grade students, pedestrian safety, about, how to look across the street, left and right and left again, and make sure that there's nobody coming down the street before you actually think about, and not crossing without an adult and it's very grade specific that Kim throughout the years has been involved with that as well. So that still occurs. Ms. Blackerby, Vice Chair, soon to be Chair Blackerby, you asked the question about buses, and the tie-in to transit is when we have in the past, and maybe I'll still in the future, perform and conduct the summer camps that we do, either at Goleta Valley Junior High or some of the others. One of the things that we're usually very engaged in, and you've been a great part of that, is to actually have an MTD bus come to the bike camp and show students how do you actually put your bike up on the rack, and or the 2 racks, and maybe coming soon 3 racks on some of the buses. So that's another exciting thing, that in addition to the educational part, we're showing younger students how to be independent in their transportation. And the excitement that does now include the evolution of them getting to where they need to go on their e-bikes, but hopefully in a safe way. And the last thing just want to touch on is that what we're doing here, a lot of it is not only just tied into the health benefits of more children walking and biking to school, but also, of course, the environmental benefits of with more biking and walking, there's less parents having to drive their kids, there's less carbon emissions coming out of those vehicles that are sitting there idling at all these schools, because that's another big thing that happens. And really want to give also props to the city's transportation team, because in response to all these concerns that the parents have had about, I can't let my kids ride on that street, we've seen more of these Vision Zero inspired safety improvements that have been happening on streets like Gillespie and like Aliso Street, et cetera. I just love the fact that we have new street signs that have bike symbols on them, because that also helps show that these new routes are there. And just lastly, regarding Vision Zero, the other thing that's really great is that the city of Goleta just adopted last night, or Tuesday night, their own Vision Zero policy, which is very encouraging. It's a big commitment, and I encourage you all on your own spare time, because you've been through the Vision Zero process, to maybe see how you can also help guide them to adopt, implement their policy too. Thanks so much.
Thank you. With that, I think that's all for the agenda for tonight, and we just need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Are we second?
Did somebody move to adjourn?
Yes.
You did, okay. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
And thank you for your service as chair.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair Malavos, for your service, and we'll see you all in April.